The moment Amara Williams signed the divorce papers, her hand did not shake. People expected tears. They expected her to beg. Instead, she capped the pen, slid the documents across the polished desk, and looked at the man who once promised her forever, like he was a stranger she'd met on the street. 5 years later, that same man, Korea's most powerful young CEO, would stand outside her company's headquarters in the rain, holding a small gift bag, hoping for permission to know the son he never met. But on the day she left, nobody could have predicted that ending. All anyone could see was a broken-hearted woman walking out of a mansion, carrying nothing but a suitcase and the wreckage of a love she had given everything to. Amara had never planned to fall in love with a billionaire. She was a fashion designer from Atlanta, fierce and self-made, the kind of woman who built her name through sleepless nights and rejected pitches before anyone took her seriously. She met Jun-Ho Kang at an international business summit in Seoul, where she was presenting a sustainable fashion line to potential investors. He was cold in public, calculated, untouchable, the heir to one of Korea's largest conglomerates. But when he spoke to her backstage, something shifted. "You don't smile to please people," he said, watching her rehearse her pitch alone. "Most people in this industry smile because they're afraid. You smile because you actually believe in what you're saying." Amara raised an eyebrow. "Is that your way of telling me you've been watching me?" "Maybe," he said, the corner of his mouth lifting. "Is that a problem?" "Depends on whether you're going to invest in my company or just flirt with me." He laughed, a real laugh, the kind people said he never gave anyone. "Why not both?" From that night forward, something built between them that neither fully understood. He admired her boldness. She saw past his cold, calculated reputation into the lonely boy who grew up being trained to inherit an empire instead of being allowed to feel anything. They married within 2 years, despite his family's disapproval, despite the murmurs in Korean tabloids about the foreign designer who married into the Kang fortune. "They'll never accept me," Amara told him the night before their wedding, staring at her reflection, doubt creeping into her voice. Jun-Ho stood behind her, hands steady on her shoulders. "I don't need them to accept you. I need you to know that no matter what happens, no matter what my family says, no matter what the world says, you will always be my family. That will never change." She believed him. She believed him with her whole heart. For the first 2 years, their marriage felt like proof that love could outlast culture, language, and class. Amara relocated to Seoul, learned the language, supported Jun-Ho as he expanded the family's tech and shipping conglomerate into new global markets. She sacrificed her own growing design label to be by his side during crucial business mergers, attending dinners she didn't enjoy, smiling through boardroom politics that excluded her because she trusted that their foundation was solid. But success has a strange way of rewriting a person. As Jun-Ho's company expanded, so did the demands on his time. Dinners were missed. Phone calls went unanswered. The man who once memorized her coffee order started forgetting her birthday. His family's pressure intensified. His mother, in particular, never hid her disappointment. "A Korean company needs a Korean face beside its CEO," his mother said once at a family dinner, not even bothering to look at Amara as she said it. "Image matters more than feelings, Jun-Ho. You understand this." Amara excused herself from the table that night, locking herself in the guest bathroom just to breathe. When Jun-Ho found her later, she asked quietly, "Are you going to say something next time? Or are you going to let her talk about me like I'm not even in the room?" "She's just old-fashioned," Jun-Ho said, exhausted. "Don't take it personally." "Don't take it personally?" Amara's voice cracked. "Jun-Ho, she insulted me to my face." "I'll talk to her," he muttered, already checking his phone. "Just not tonight. I have an early meeting." Always a meeting. Always tomorrow. Always somewhere else his attention needed to be. Amara noticed the cracks, but she chose to believe their love was strong enough to survive them. She was wrong. Then she discovered she was pregnant. She remembered staring at the test in their marble bathroom, hands trembling, tears falling before she even processed the emotion behind them. She imagined Junho's face lighting up. She imagined him pulling her into his arms, finally present, finally hers again. She planned an elaborate dinner, ordered his favorite dishes, dimmed the lights, placed the positive test inside a small wrapped box on the table. "I have something for you," she said, voice trembling with excitement when he walked through the door later than promised. He barely looked up from his phone. "Can it wait? I have a call with our Singapore office in 10 minutes. "Junho, please. Just 2 minutes." Something in her tone must have registered, because he finally looked at her, then at the box on the table. He opened it slowly. His face changed, but not in the way she imagined. "Is this?" He swallowed hard. "Are you pregnant?" "Yes," she whispered, smiling through tears. "We're going to have a baby." There was a long, suffocating pause. "This is a lot," he finally said. "There's so much happening with the company right now. The board is already questioning my leadership stability. This couldn't have come at a worse time." Amara felt her stomach drop. "A worse time? Junho, this is our child." I know that. He rubbed his temples. "I need to think. I have to take this call." He left. He actually left, his footsteps echoing down the hallway, leaving Amara standing alone beside an untouched dinner and a box that suddenly felt heavier than anything she'd ever held. That was the night the truth started unraveling. Amara began noticing patterns, calls late at night that he stepped outside to take, perfume that wasn't hers lingering on his jackets, a name that kept appearing in his calendar. Yuna Park. Yuna was everything his family wanted. Elegant, fluent in 3 languages, daughter of a shipping magnate whose company had partnered with the Kongs for over a decade. She understood the unspoken rules of their world, the silence, the performance, the politics. Junho's mother adored her instantly. "She just gets it," his mother said. Once during a dinner Amara wasn't invited to, but heard about later. "She doesn't make a scene. She doesn't ask for things to change. She simply fits." Junho began finding excuses to be near Yuna, strategic partnership meetings that ran late, charity galas where she was conveniently seated beside him, board dinners where Amara wasn't included because it's just business. He told himself it meant nothing. He told himself he was simply easing the pressure from his family. But every excuse chipped away at the wall he should have been building around his marriage. Amara missed 3 doctor's appointments alone. 3 times she sat in a waiting room, hand resting on her growing belly, scrolling through unanswered texts. "Running late, sorry. Something came up. Can't make it. We'll see the ultrasound photos later. Tomorrow, I promise." Tomorrow never came. The breaking point arrived at a company gala, a glittering event meant to celebrate a new international shipping deal. Amara attended, 6 months pregnant, wearing a deep emerald gown she'd designed herself, determined to stand beside her husband as his wife, regardless of how uncomfortable his family made her feel. But when she arrived, she found him already standing for photos, beside Yuna Park. A reporter, unaware or perhaps deliberately provoking a headline, lifted a microphone toward them. "Mr. Kang, rumors have been circulating about your marriage. Is Miss Park the woman who will become the next Mrs. Kang?" The room went silent. Amara stood frozen near the entrance, heart hammering, waiting, praying for Junho to laugh it off, to correct the reporter, to say anything that proved he still saw her as his wife. He said nothing. Seconds stretched into an eternity. Yuna smiled demurely beside him, and Junho simply stood there, jaw tight, eyes darting anywhere but toward the cameras. Anywhere but toward Amara. That silence shattered something inside her that no apology could ever fully repair. She didn't make a scene. She turned, walked back through the grand entrance, climbed into a car, and went home alone. She sat in their bedroom for hours that night, replaying the silence over and over, understanding finally what it meant. He hadn't chosen Yuna because he'd fallen in love with her. He'd chosen the path of least resistance because he believed Amara would always be there, patiently waiting, no matter how much he neglected her. He was wrong. When Junho returned home near midnight, he found Amara sitting calmly at the kitchen table, a folder in front of her. "We need to talk," she said, her voice eerily steady. "Amara, about tonight. The reporter caught me off guard. I should have said something." "Was I your wife?" she interrupted. "Or was I just someone convenient until somebody more suitable came along? That's not fair. You know that's not—" "Don't tell me what's fair, Junho. You let a reporter ask if another woman would replace me in front of cameras, in front of your company, while I'm carrying your child. And you said nothing." I was confused. I didn't know what to say. "You knew exactly what to say. You just didn't think I deserved to hear it." He sat down across from her, desperation creeping into his voice. "I never meant to hurt you. I just need time to fix things with my family, to figure out how to balance." "There's no more balancing," Amara said quietly, sliding the folder toward him. "I'm done waiting for you to choose me." He opened it. Divorce papers. "Amara, please, don't do this. I'll fix it. I'll end whatever this is with Yuna. I'll talk to my mother. You had years to fix it," she said, standing. "I gave you chance after chance because I loved you enough to stay. But tonight I realized I love myself enough to leave." "You're carrying my child," he said, voice breaking. "And that child deserves a mother who knows her own worth," Amara replied. "Not a mother who taught herself to disappear just to keep peace in someone else's family." She left that night. She didn't take the designer wardrobe he'd bought her, didn't take the jewelry, didn't take a single thing connected to the life they'd built. She took her sketchbooks, her passport, and the quiet, fierce determination that had carried her across an ocean once before, and would carry her again. Junho tried calling for weeks, then months. Eventually the call stopped, replaced by silence on both sides, as their divorce was finalized quietly, away from cameras, away from headlines, exactly the way Amara wanted it. She disappeared from his world entirely. 5 years passed. In that time, Amara rebuilt her life from nothing into something extraordinary. She returned to the United States, gave birth to a son she named Noah, and poured every ounce of grief into relentless work. Her sustainable fashion label, once a struggling passion project, exploded into an internationally recognized brand, celebrated for craftsmanship, ethics, and a story of resilience that resonated with women across the world. Magazine covers, major retail partnerships, a name that no longer needed Junho Kang's empire attached to it for credibility. Noah grew into a sharp, curious 5-year-old, full of questions about a father he'd never met. "Mommy, why don't I have a daddy like the other kids?" he asked one evening, swinging his legs on the kitchen stool while she stirred dinner on the stove. Amara knelt to his eye level, brushing his curls back gently. "You have a daddy, baby. He just lives far away, and he doesn't know about you yet." "Why not?" "Because sometimes adults make really big mistakes," she said softly. "But that has nothing to do with how amazing you are. You hear me?" Noah nodded, satisfied, the way children do when love makes complicated things feel simple. Meanwhile, in Seoul, Junho's world had unraveled in ways the public never saw. His relationship with Yuna fizzled within a year. Built on convenience rather than connection, it collapsed the moment external pressure faded. His mother's matchmaking ambitions failed repeatedly. He threw himself into work, expanding the company further, becoming wealthier, more powerful, more respected in boardrooms. and emptier in every other part of his life. It wasn't until a chance encounter, an old assistant mentioning, almost in passing, that Amara Williams had given birth shortly after the divorce, that Junho's entire world tilted on its axis. "She had a baby?" he asked, gripping the edge of his desk. "Yes, sir. A son, I believe. I wasn't certain you knew." He hadn't known. 5 years of silence, and he hadn't known he had a child walking the earth somewhere without him. He spent months investigating quietly, hiring private contacts, tracing Amara's company registration, finally discovering she was based in New York, running a thriving fashion house under her maiden name. When he finally stood outside her headquarters, the glass building bearing her name in elegant lettering above the entrance, he felt smaller than he had in his entire life. He waited 3 hours in the rain before she walked out. Amara stopped cold when she saw him. 5 years had aged him in ways that surprised her, not physically, but in the exhaustion behind his eyes. "Junho," she said carefully, "what are you doing here?" "I know about Noah," he said, voice shaking. "I know I have a son." Amara's expression hardened. "And what exactly do you think happens now? You show up, and I just hand him to you." "No. I need to know him. Please, Amara. I know I don't deserve anything from you. I know I destroyed everything good in my life when I let you walk away that night. But he's my son, too." "He's been your son for 5 years," Amara said, voice sharp. "Where were you for his first steps, his first words, the nights he had fevers, and I sat up alone wondering if I was doing this right by myself? You don't get to just appear because guilt finally caught up with you." "You're right," Junho said, surprising her. "You're completely right. I have no excuse. I thought losing you just meant losing a wife. I didn't realize, until it was far too late, that I was losing an entire family I never even got to meet." Amara studied him for a long moment, rain soaking both their shoulders, years of pain compressed into a single silent stare. "You're allowed to regret what you did," she finally said. "But your regret does not erase my pain, Junho. And it definitely doesn't erase the years Noah grew up without you. I understand. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking for a chance, even a small one, to be part of his life going forward." Amara crossed her arms, considering him carefully. Then, after what felt like an eternity, she spoke again. "If I allow this," she said slowly, "it will be on my terms. You don't control how it happens. You don't get to disappear when business gets difficult again. You show up consistently, or you don't show up at all. There is no in-between anymore." "I understand," Junho said, relief and grief tangled together in his voice. "I'll do whatever it takes." The first meeting between Junho and Noah took place weeks later in a quiet park near Amara's apartment, supervised carefully, emotions raw on every side. Noah, naturally curious and unafraid, studied the tall, nervous stranger kneeling in front of him. "Are you my daddy?" Noah asked bluntly, the way only children can. Junho's voice cracked. Yes, I am." "Why didn't you come before?" There was no easy answer, no excuse that would satisfy a child's straightforward logic. So Junho gave him the truth instead. "Because I made some really big mistakes," he said. "I was scared, and I let fear stop me from doing the right thing. But I'm here now, if you'll let me be." Noah studied him a moment longer, before shrugging with the simple forgiveness only children possess. "Okay. Do you want to see my drawings?" And just like that, a fragile bridge began forming between a father desperate for redemption and a son who knew nothing of grudges. Over the following months, Junho proved himself, slowly, painfully, consistently. He flew back and forth between Seoul and New York, never missing a scheduled visit, never canceling for just one more meeting, the way he once had with Amara. He learned Noah's favorite cartoons, his fear of thunderstorms, the specific way he liked his pancakes cut into triangles instead of squares. He learned, piece by piece, what it actually meant to be present. Amara watched cautiously from a distance, never letting her guard fully down, but slowly allowing herself to acknowledge that perhaps people could change, not enough to undo the past, but enough to build something different moving forward. Years passed. Noah grew older, secure in the love of two parents who, despite their painful history, prioritized his happiness above old wounds. Junho became a devoted father, present for school recitals, soccer games, late-night homework struggles, the very things he once sacrificed his marriage to avoid. Amara's fashion empire grew into a global powerhouse, her name eventually honored at an international business summit, fittingly in the very same city where she and Junho first met years earlier. Standing in the audience, watching her accept the award, surrounded by respect she had built entirely on her own terms, Junho felt the full weight of what he had lost, and simultaneously what he had been fortunate enough to partially regain. The woman he once ignored had become the woman the entire industry admired. He hadn't earned his way back into her heart. That door, he understood, was permanently closed, and rightfully so. But he had been given something he never expected, a second chance to become a better father, built not on grand gestures, but on the slow, deliberate work of showing up, day after day, year after year. Some people walk away because they've stopped loving someone. Others walk away because they've finally learned to love themselves enough to demand better. Amara didn't leave Junho that night to punish him. She left because she finally understood her own worth and refused to settle for anything less ever again. A person can earn forgiveness through consistent change, but they can never demand a second chance as if it were owed to them. Amara gave Junho the chance to know his son, not because he deserved it, but because Noah deserved a father who tried. And in the end, that distinction made all the difference. If this story moved you, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this one, and drop a comment below telling us what part hit you the hardest. Your support means everything, and it helps us keep bringing these stories to life.